All right, guys, welcome back to the Pocket Mads channel. It's Maddie here, and guess what? The next expansion to Pokemon Pocket has been revealed. It's been announced. The trailer for B3 came out today. It is called Pulsing Aura. This is going to be a full expansion, 2 new booster packs, and it is going to be releasing on Monday. I'm recording this, it's Thursday, so it's kind of a short notice, but the new set is going to be releasing Monday. Tons of new cards were revealed. I'm not going to show the trailer in this video. Go check that out yourself, but I will be breaking down all of these new cards that were shown, and they did show us quite a few new cards. I'm actually very excited about this. Anyway, let's dive into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to tune in to the Invitational tournament this weekend, the PMPT Invitational for the second season. Okay. Anyway, yeah, guys, just a ton of stuff was revealed. Not only new cards, but like new updates and leaks and data mines. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Now, the two, I guess, mascot Pokemon for Pulsing Aura are going to be Mega Sceptile and Mega Lucario. That's right, we've been speculating on the channel Mega Lucario for a very long time now. It does make a lot of sense for fighting type to get some support. We thought it would be coming the last couple expansions, finally coming here in B3. And Mega Lucario definitely going to be kind of the front runner for this set, but we're also getting Mega Sceptile, which is definitely interesting. So let's take a look at both of those cards right off the bat. The first one, Mega Sceptile. Mega Sceptile is one of my favorite Mega Pokemon. Sceptile, one of my favorite starters. My favorite, possibly my favorite Hoenn starter. I'm also kind of a Swampert guy, but it is what it is. We have Mega Blaziken, Mega Swampert, and now we have Mega Sceptile, so we got all three. But anyway, Mega Sceptile, Stage 2, 210 HP Grass-type Mega, a retreat of 1, weak to Fire. It's got the attack Terminating Tail for 2 Grass energies. So one thing to note here is that it does satisfy the dual energy Mega Pokemon viability test that seemingly is very common, and kind of like a true fact, basically. If Mega Pokemon don't have an attack cost of 2 or less, they're just not that relevant. It's just how they are for some reason. But anyway, 2 energies, 130 for the damage. You discard a Grass energy from this Pokemon, and then your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Now that's interesting. We do have some poison support in the game. We have Nihilego, theoretically, to boost this poison damage. It's very similar to Blaziken. This card is literally, and I mean that, identical to Blaziken. It's just a grass-type Blaziken card. Now, Blaziken, fortunately, has things like Flame Patch and other cards that you can play to support Blaziken, but Mega Sceptile doesn't necessarily have anything like that. What is cool about Sceptile is that because it's a grass type, it does have plenty of grass-type support. You have Leaf Cape to bring this thing up to 240 HP. You still can play Lily, which is a heal 60 card, which is always pretty good. What other grass type support do we have? I guess you have Ogerpon if you wanted to play that to be immune to special conditions. That could be pretty good in a sleep heavy metagame, such as the one that we are currently in, but you could also play Leafeon, right? So Leafeon is kind of the #1 grass energy type accelerator in the game. Sceptile could pair very well with Leafeon, just admittedly. I think Sceptile is going to be a very good card. I think that this is, you know, a very safe card to be made. I don't think that this is anything too crazy. Like I said, it is literally Blaziken, but it is grass type, and it poisons instead of burns. It's the exact same thing. I like this card. Now, I don't know. It's hard to say like how we're going to be playing Sceptile. I think cards like this are just generally pretty good, but I don't know really what the defining characteristics of Mega Sceptile, of this deck is going to be, you know? I think we're going to have to wait and see. Maybe some other additional support type cards could fit into this. You know, the difference with Sceptile as opposed to Blaziken is that you can play Nihilego if you really wanted to, and then that 130 could quickly turn into like a 170, which is a lot of damage. But yeah, Leaf Cape gives it a little extra HP. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if we have other like grass support cards in the game. Ogerpon is a big one. The fact that you can play this with Ogerpon and just not have to worry about sleep like is a pretty big deal. So we're gonna have to keep our eye on Sceptile. I really like this card. Again, a very safe card, nothing too crazy here, just a very general, you know, decent card. And these are the types of Mega Pokemon that are kind of the best, right? And if you take a look at the Megas in the game, Blaziken's been relevant, you know, Altaria's been relevant, Absol. It really comes down to the fact that we have a really solid, you know, grass type Mega Pokemon to build the deck around, and what kind of a package can we build around this deck? Like I said, with Blaziken, you have Heatmor and Cyrus, and you know, you can play Greninja if you really wanted to, but you have Flame Patch, and that's a defining characteristic. It's interesting because I would say Fire right now is mostly Charizard, so we'll see what we get to be played with Sceptile. Anything additional, that is. I think this is a good card, you know, could easily be like a top tier meta card, or could easily just not see play at all, right? Because, you know, maybe grass type support isn't relevant enough to be that good in the metagame, but I will tell you, you know, being able to play Ogerpon, getting the poison out here, this is a Pokemon that could be extremely relevant given, you know, the other decks that are in the metagame. Things like Sceptile are going to do quite well into Suicune, just inherently by the fact that, with Lily and Leaf Cape, you're going to deal a lot of damage, and, you're going to be able to KO things pretty easily. It's going to do good into Altaria if you are playing Ogerpon, because Altaria right now plays Sleep, and, quite frankly, we're able to kind of Lily and live multiple hits, which is going to be really good. So I like this card. Again, 240 with Leaf Cape, and Lily is 300, so you got to get hit for 150 twice to take the KO. That breakpoint could be really relevant. I like Sceptile. Not much else to really say about it. Other than that, it's a good card. And, we welcome all good cards to Pokemon Pocket. But anyway, we did get Trico. So here is like a basic Trico that we're getting. Nothing really special there. Doesn't really do anything. We'll get into Budew later. And this is the promo Trico also. Just hits for 20 for 1 energy. But anyway, let's get into Mega Lucario. And this is an expansion right now that definitely seems to be favoring Lucario. Now, they highlighted a bunch of new support fighting type cards. Maybe we get those types of cards for grass type too. I don't know. There's no way to really know. But we are getting a lot of support for fighting, which I know a lot of people are going to be very excited about. So let's talk about Mega Lucario. This thing is a stage 1 Pokemon with 190 HP, so we are on par with things like Mega Altaria, which is really good. And we see another 2 energy attack cost, which again is a good thing. That means this Pokemon is not immediately dead into the water. Weak to Psychic, so that's a little bit tough, but doesn't really matter. Not many Psychic Pokemon will 1-hit KO you at 190, so the weakness isn't that relevant. Retreat cost of 1 as well. It's got the attack Fighting Pulse. For 2 fighting energies, does 90 damage. If this Pokemon has at least 1 extra fighting energy attached, it does 50 more. So 2 energy, 90, and then it does 3 energy, 140. Now that doesn't seem too crazy, but keep in mind, we don't really have much fighting type acceleration in the metagame at the moment. But, at first glance, this is something that you could play with Passimian. I know nobody likes Passimian, nobody wants to play it, but theoretically speaking, this could see a decent amount of play with Passimian. And let me just highlight here the Riolu. So this is the new basic Riolu. This has Fighting Fist, does 10 damage, but does 30 more to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. I don't know how relevant that is, but it is 40 to an EX Pokemon. Anyway, before we gotta talk about Mega Lucario, I want to talk about the other support cards we're getting that kind of, make Lucario seem probably a little bit better than it is at first glance. The first one is going to be Korrina. This supporter card here reads, during this turn, attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do plus 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. So this is 30 more damage to that Lucario to your opponent's Mega Pokemon. All Mega Pokemon are EX Pokemon, but anything else as well that's not a Mega. And that's pretty good. So plus 30, definitely pretty decent, but we are getting a new stadium called Arena of Antiquity. Arena of Antiquity. Say that 3 times fast. I bet you can. Anyway, attacks used by your fighting Pokemon in play, by each fighting Pokemon in play, rather. Both yours and your opponent do plus 20, again, to your opponent's Pokemon EX. So a lot of this fighting buff support for damage is really only towards EX Pokemon. Keep in mind, we do still have Fighting Coach Lucario, which will pair very well with Mega Lucario. If you can get 3 energies on this thing, that's 140 damage, plus all of the additional attack damage support that we have in the game. All of a sudden, Mega Lucario is a real single hit KO threat. We're dealing upwards of, I think, 190 damage, 200, I don't even know. Like, you can get up there pretty high. So it's plus 50 with Korrina and Antiquity Arena, so that's 190. But if you're playing Fighting Coach Lucario, all of a sudden that's 210. So Lucario is a pretty big threat. Being able to 1-hit KO Pokemon is a very, very big deal, especially other Mega Pokemon, things like Mega Absol, things like Mega Altaria, because those decks will not be able to 1-hit KO you. So that's very relevant. I think Mega Lucario definitely has a lot of potential. Now, to be honest, we do have other fighting type cards in the game. And these fighting type support cards like Korrina, like Antiquity, these are cards that are going to buff all fighting type Pokemon. So things like Rampardos could come back into the metagame. I don't know if I love the idea of a Rampardos hitting me for 180 damage. That sounds not great. But also keep in mind, these cards are buffing even like the starting off, lead off fighting Pokemon like Hitmonlee or what else do we play, I guess, is lead? I guess kind of Hitmonchan. I don't know. All of those Pokemon get buffed by Korrina and Antiquity. So very interesting. The fighting support that we're getting definitely seems to be just damage heavy. And that's kind of the case with fighting in general. I would say that fighting is sort of the counterpart to steel type. And, as we know, all kind of steel type effects and support cards for Steel are all about damage reduction. Fighting type support cards really come into effect as just increasing the damage output. But again, certain breakpoints can make or break decks, no pun intended. And Mega Lucario, again, with the ability to one-hit KO other Mega Pokemon, is going to make this a real threat. It's going to be quite scary. Now again, what are we going to do to try to get the 3 energies on this thing? It really feels like a Pokemon that we invest in and we start with, or not start with, but we end the game with, right? So when we go into Lucario, we're hoping to finish off the game with it. And I think that's totally fine. Strategies like this and basically every other Mega Pokemon in the game will lose to Charizard. So that's the thing you got to keep in mind. We've been talking about this. If all of the metagame becomes Mega Pokemon decks, then Charizard ends up being extremely good. But we still have things like Suicune in the game, like Hydreigon, and those are things that have been exceedingly popular. I do think Mega Lucario has a lot of potential in that sense. It is going to 1-hit KO Hydreigon, Mega Absol pretty easily, although I think Absol and Hydreigon are both weak to Grass. So Sceptile is probably more of a threat to those decks in general, but keep that in mind. You know, I think that all two rather of these new Mega Pokemon are going to be good into things like Suicune and Hydreigon. So we're kind of getting those bases covered. I like Lucario. I do. I don't think it's like overly insanely broken, although it definitely could be. Is going to be a fun inclusion to the metagame, and it's probably the best option we have right now as far as fighting type decks go. Rampardos is absolutely terrifying though. So if Chingling isn't very common in the metagame, Rampardos, it might still just be better because it's a single prize Pokemon and attacks for 1 energy, 130, right? So being able to turn that 130 into 160 or subsequently 180 is terrifying. And I don't think we need to, we should be sleeping on Rampardos, but also we have things like Garchomp. There's other fighting Pokemon in the game. So while we do have Lucario, it is kind of our first true mega fighting. I don't think that Lopunny will really take advantage of a lot of this stuff. Lucario probably has a decent shot at being meta relevant, but we'll have to wait and see, honestly. Next up is Vaporeon. That's right, we have completed, I believe now, every evolution has an EX card. Vaporeon, I think, was the last one. This card is very interesting. It has 160 HP, so this has more HP than any other evolution in the game, and because it is an evolution Pokemon, it has access to EX, but also boosted evolution Eevee, which was an incredible card. Also, you have access to Eevee Bag, and it's a water type, so you can Misty this thing. It's got a lot going for it. Vaporeon EX, 160 HP, retreat cost of 3, so it's hard to retreat. Weak to lightning. It's got the ability Frozen Flow. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench, and your opponent chooses the new active Pokemon. So this effect is Sabrina. Now, if Vaporeon is in the active spot, we get a Sabrina every turn. And not even that, you can actually Sabrina on your first turn for free because you can boosted evolution evolve into Vaporeon. Now that's actually a lot better than it sounds. Sabrina's a really, really good card. Being able to just have a turn 1 Sabrina right off the bat is going to be a really big deal. I don't think this is a Pokemon that's going to ever do good into lightning type decks for sure, but into a lot of certain strategies, I think Vaporeon has a lot of potential. You know, you can play this with Mantike if you want to attack turn 2 for 80 damage, but again, Eevee Bag is going to further boost this damage. You can play Training Area to boost this damage even more. I like this card. I don't know if this... The issue with like water type Pokemon when they come into the game is like, you know, are they better than Suicune? Like, is there a reason to play this over Suicune? And the answer to that is like probably not, which is why it's maybe a little bit tough. But I do like Vaporeon. I think that you could also play this with Heavy Helmet because it's got a retreat cost of 3. So pretty tanky as far as, you know, stage 1 EX Pokemon goes. It's got a lot going for it because it's an evolution. I like this card. Again, you can go turn 1 Frozen Flow off the boosted evolution Eevee, knock your opponent maybe off their energy curve, force them to retreat or whatnot, trap a Pokemon in the active. That's going to be a lot better than it sounds. This is a Pokemon that I actually feel pretty strongly about. Again, I don't know if it'll see more play than Suicune will, right? So that's the issue. But definitely not a bad card. Not a bad card at all. I really like Vaporeon. I definitely like it. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about Kubfu and the new Urshifu cards that we are getting because these cards are definitely pretty decent. Kubfu here, it's a basic fighting 60 HP. It's got a colorless energy attack cost. Training, take a colorless energy. Is that what this is? Yeah, take a colorless energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon. So that's kind of odd. Hold on, one sec. This might be the first time we have colorless energy acceleration in the game. Colorless energy does exist in the sense that attack costs are colorless energy, and there's certain Pokemon effects that increase attack costs by 1 colorless energy. But basically, like, I don't know if we've ever had a card that can attach a colorless energy, because you can't play colorless energy in your deck. So that's interesting. But anyway, Kubfu evolves into Single Strike Urshifu and Rapid Strike Urshifu. These are stage 1 Pokemon. Single Strike Urshifu is a dark type. It's got, they both have this ability, double type. So it's both a fighting and a dark type Pokemon. This basically is for offensive reasons. The only thing that this matters for is if it were to get buffed by certain effects that work for certain types of Pokemon, then of course it'll work for both fighting and dark. But in terms of hitting for weakness on Pokemon, it'll satisfy both conditions, right? So you're more than likely, or you're more likely going to be hitting for weakness on Pokemon if they're weak to either fighting or dark. That's all that means. It does 110 damage for 2 dark and a colorless, and you discard an energy from this Pokemon. I don't love this. This is fighting type, so it will get buffed. Even though it's a dark type card, it is a fighting type Pokemon. So it will get buffed by Karina and Antiquity and Fighting Coach Lucario. So you can definitely pump the damage on Single Strike Urshifu, but because it's a 3 energy attack cost, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get this thing up and running. Kubfu can generate a colorless energy. So the way that this works, though, is because both Urshifus have a colorless energy in their attack cost. Depending on which one you're running, you're either going to be running dark energies in your energy zone or water type energy in your energy zone. So basically, if you go second, you lead Kubfu, you attach a dark energy to it, and then you use training, you'll then have, at the end of your turn, a dark and a colorless. And then on the next turn, you can evolve and then attach another dark, and then you can power blast. So that's going to be a pretty strong turn 2 effect. Might be kind of the strongest like turn 2 we have in the game, but it is dependent on going second. So that's the thing about Single Strike Urshifu. Now, Rapid Strike Urshifu is very good. It's very good because it doesn't really care whether it goes first or second or not. Also double type, 120 HP. It's water and fighting, and it's got Tornado Shot for 1 water and 1 colorless, so 1 less energy. 40 damage, and you discard a water energy from this Pokemon, and this attack also does 40 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon, so 40 and 40. But that active damage can be buffed, like I said, by Antiquity, Karina, and Fighting Coach Lucario. So that 40 to the active could definitely end up being 70, 90, 110 damage, and then you're also dealing 40 to the bench. But because this is a water type Pokemon, whether you go second, you're still going to be able to attack on turn 2 with it because of Kubfu, or you could lead Mantike and still kind of generate additional energies to Kubfu and then pop off on turn 2 going first for 40 and 40. So I actually really like this card. I think they're both decent. Single Strike Urshifu, it definitely is a bit more of a requirement to go second, which is tough because your opponent can just rare candy on turn 2 going first with Hydreigon and stuff. And KO you know what I mean? But this is these are strong Pokemon. I do like these. This is going to be a fun little archetype here. And technically speaking, Urshifu will fit into other dark type decks, and Rapid Strike will fit into other water type decks. So I think they're both okay. I do. It's cool because they're dark and water, but they both kind of get buffed by the new fighting type support cards, which is pretty cool. So I like it. I like that. I don't know how much either of these will see play. If any, I would think that Rapid Strike Urshifu will see more play because it has 120 HP. So they're both kind of tanky, but 40 to the active, 40 to the bench is a great way to kind of start off the match. So interesting. Very, very cool. We're getting a new Beware, which does triple smash, 50 for each heads you flip, and you flip 3 coins for 3 energy. Probably not going to see play. We are getting a new Emboar card. This is a stage 2 non-EX Pokemon, 160 HP, retreat cost of 4, I believe, which is crazy. Flare Storm for 3 fire energy, 70 damage, flip a coin for each fire energy attached to this Pokemon, and it does 30 more for each heads. This is something that, again, could be somewhat relevant. These coin flip, it's not likely that this ever really sees play, but theoretically speaking, it's not a weak card at all. We are getting a Krogunk, which means we should be getting a Toxicroak or a new Toxicroak in the set. Maybe Toxicroak EX could be coming, but this is a fighting type, Corkscrew Punch 20. Toxicroak could be dark, or it could be fighting type. Hopefully fighting type. We're getting a new Wooper. So we also have a Quagsire, which was leaked. So here it is. This Quagsire has 130 HP, stage 1 Pokemon. Muddy Headbutt. So for 1 water and 2 colorless does 60, and if it has any fighting energy attached, it does 60 more, which is pretty cool, but it's not a fighting type Pokemon, so it doesn't get buffed by those things. And we are getting a new Bisharp card. So I don't know if we're going to be getting a King Gambit. King Gambit would be really cool, because Bisharp technically does evolve. Yeah, I mean, Night Slash 60, double colorless, switch this as one of your bench Pokemon. I mean, who knows? It's a cool card. It's a full art card. Anyway, let's get into some stuff that's very interesting. Probably 2 of the more popular cards that have gotten announced here. One is going to be Field Blower. And I'm sorry to say, but Guzma is no longer relevant. So I apologize greatly to all of the Guzma lovers. It has been power crapped. This is an item card, Field Blower. You discard a Pokemon tool card from a Pokemon, both yours or your opponent's, or you discard a stadium card in play. So you choose one and then you get to do one of those, which is really good. Being able to discard a stadium or a tool card for just the cost of an item card is a really big deal. In a metagame where Giant Cape sees a lot of play, this is going to effectively be a plus 20 damage card for an item, which is really, really relevant. Like every deck plays either stadiums or tool cards or both. So this is going to be a card that's very relevant. It's going to see a ton of play, can basically see play in any deck. So it's going to be one of those new meta staples. Now, what other, I guess, cards would you be discarding? Like Giant Cape's a big one. Discarding a Rocky Helmet could be pretty big. Heavy Helmet, those are really relevant cards to get rid of if you're playing against an opponent running those cards. So I think like one Field Blower will likely find its way into like a lot of decks. This is just a card, even with 20 card deck limits in Pokemon Pocket, this is a really, really good option. Think about how many decks I guess not many decks really play Guzma anymore, but now you're way more likely or wanting to play Guzma, which is a big deal because Guzma's been pretty irrelevant in the metagame and tool cards have kind of just ran being played in decks like unchecked. Nobody's really playing Guzma. So Field Blower going to be super relevant, really, really impactful to the metagame. And we're getting another baby Pokemon. This might be the last baby Pokemon available, and it is Budew. We are getting Budew. Now, Chingling, Chingling is item lock. However, Budew is ability locked. So we're finally now getting a counter ability Pokemon here. Unfortunately, there is sort of a downside to this effect. But anyway, Budew, it is a baby Pokemon, 30 HP grass type, no weakness, no retreat cost, no attack cost, and it does Prickly Powder. 10 damage, and the defending Pokemon loses all abilities. This effect lasts until the defending Pokemon leaves the active spot. So it actually just stays, which is kind of crazy. So you can come in, hit with Budew, and then just retreat on the following turn, and the ability lock will remain until your opponent swaps out. Now, keep in mind, this does say here that the effect lasts until the defending Pokemon leaves the active spot, but this ability, or this effect rather, will still be wiped off if your opponent evolves. So that's something that is just the case, unless I'm completely interpreting this wrong, but in every single negative effect that you put on your opponent's Pokemon will be removed if they evolve. This includes literally any effect in the game. So even though the wording on this is a bit interesting, you aren't going to be able to attack like a Dino and then have the ability lock stay when they rare candy into Hydreigon. The effect will be nullified. So sadly, we cannot stop turn 2 Hydreigon with rare candy with Budew, at least as far as I'm estimating. But you are going to be able to bring in Budew on a Hydreigon after it attacks, and then hit it for 30 damage because of weakness, and then stop it from using its ability until it swaps out. So Budew's not going to stop Hydreigon in that first sense that I talked about, but it is going to be a really nice option to come in, tag it for 30, and then stop it from being able to use its ability to generate energies, which effectively will lock it in the active spot. So that is relevant. This is a good card. It's not only relevant into like Hydreigon, there's a lot of Pokemon with abilities. Gonna be really good into Suicune, right? So turn 1, you can just turn off that Suicune's, what's it called? What is Suicune's? I forget. Legendary Pulse, I think. You're going to be able to turn off Suicune's ability so it can't draw cards. So Budew's going to be really nice in that sense. There's a lot of Pokemon with abilities that are going to be in the active spot. It's not going to be that good into other baby Pokemon. You will just get KO'd by Igglybuff, Darkrai. But this is a really cool card. It's really nice that we have this in the game, and I'm really happy about it. So shout out to Budew. It's going to help a lot of decks into Hydreigon specifically. Again, that 30 damage hitting for weakness, and then just sort of turning off abilities is going to just lock a Hydreigon in the active spot, which is a big deal. That is certainly a big deal. So, shout out to Budew. We love it. It's definitely a really fun card. There's going to be other applications for it off the top of my head that I just can't really think of. Turning off Boosted Evolution Eevee on your first turn is going to be really funny. Entei, so being able to turn off Entei is going to be a pretty big deal into Charizard. There's a lot of applications. I mean, there's just a lot of Pokemon with abilities. Giratina Darkrai, for example, gets absolutely shredded by Budew. It's over. Like if you're playing Giratina Darkrai, like they're not going to be able to use their active Pokemon at all, which is a really big deal, whether it is Darkrai or Giratina. So this is going to be really good. It came a little bit too late. I would have liked to see Budew, when Giratina Darkrai was dominating the metagame, but I think it's still a really nice inclusion. So shout out to Budew. Absolutely love it. We have a new Hatchram card, which means we are getting a new, what's it called? Is it Hatrina? I forget the final evolution name. I think. I don't know. What is it called? Anyway, so this is the stage 1 Pokemon, so we're going to be getting the basic and the stage 2 version. Maybe that's an EX. Maybe Hatterina is an EX card. Who knows? This does 20 damage in Confusion. Now we are getting a promo Mega Heracross. Let's talk about that. And also a promo Zygarde EX. Now the images aren't here, so we got to scroll down and take a look at them. But let's do that right now. Now, before we get into that, there is some other updates coming. The first one is going to be gold framing on our Flare cards. This is crazy. I don't know if this is like a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but I absolutely love this concept. So, starting from Pulsing Aura, a new Flare will be available for 1 diamond, 2 diamond, and 3 diamond cards, a gold frame. It requires to own 10 of the same card. So for some whales that are going to be opening Pulsing Flare cards, or Pulsing Aura cards rather, over and over and over again, and you get 10 copies of all of these sort of bulk type cards, you're going to be able to add a gold trim to them, which looks really cool. I actually really like this. Interesting. It's such a weird inclusion to the game, but a cool one. You know, it's gonna be fun to like have fully blinged out decks like this. I don't know if this means like retroactively you're gonna be able to gold frame cards from like previous sets. It says starting at Pulsing Aura, so I don't know if this is gonna like retroactively work for like older cards, but it is really, really cool that we're getting this. This is really cool. We get some elite deck missions. So it's gonna be Charizard here. You can get Mega Charizard Y and Moltres, which is nice. And then you get some more, supporter staple cards, which is cool, from the Handy Collections missions. And then new events. So here are where we're getting sort of the new promo cards that we just talked about. Special event, late April. Celebrate a year and a half of Pokemon TCG Pocket. Special solo battles and missions appear in which you can collect accessory cards such as Zygarde EX and many more. This Zygarde EX is crazy. We don't really have that image, but we'll click on it right here to read about it. What we know so far about the card is that it has it's a stage 1 EX card with 170 HP, and it is a fighting type, by the way. 3 fighting energy, land, laser. It does 100 damage. Flip 2 coins, it does 100 damage for each heads. Okay, so again, cards like this are scary, but I don't know how good they're going to be. It does have 170 HP, though. You could play Will with this thing and have a 50-50 shot to just start hitting for 200. Kind of scary. I'm a little bit afraid of Zygarde, honestly. It's definitely not a bad card at all. That means, is it a basic? No, it's a basic EX. Wow, okay, so this is a basic Pokemon with 170 HP. This thing's going to be absolutely dangerous. I'm actually very afraid of Zygarde. I don't think people are going to want to play this at all. This is going to be very scary when this comes into the game. I know it's 3 fighting energy, but maybe you play Passimian and Will, and you just get out there and you start swinging, and maybe you win the game. You know, that's going to be a strong card. Definitely kind of a slept-on card. And then we are getting here Mega Heracross EX drop event. Oh, here, right here. Emblem event comes back, pack hourglasses and whatnot. Community week event, so some free hourglasses. And then, yeah, Mega Heracross. This comes mid-May, so next month we're going to be getting Mega Heracross. It is another promo Mega. None of these have been that relevant, and then here we get some new accessories and whatnot. Let's take a look at Heracross, because why not? This is a basic EX, fighting grass type, 180 HP. Don't we have, what do we have? We have, what is it? Is it Mega, what's the grass type that we got? The original grass Mega. What is it? What Pokemon is it? Why am I spacing on it? Is it Mega Pinsir? Is it? I think it is Pinsir. Anyway, this one is also grass basic, 100 HP. 4 energies, 170. Flip a coin if tails. It also does 60 to itself. Now, 4 grass energies isn't that bad. You can play Superior to have this be a 2 energy attack cost, which is pretty funny. 170 is a ton of damage, dude. This card is kind of scary. I know you can damage yourself, but it's kind of hilarious. Like, this has a lot of potential. I don't know if we're ever going to be able to play this deck in anything other than Superior. Maybe Leafeon can get this thing boosted up, but 170 is 170, bro. And you could just play Will. You could Leaf Cape this thing to go to 210. You could play Will to guarantee you're not dealing 60 to yourself. It's an interesting card. Both Zygarde and Mega Heracross are somewhat interesting cards. They kind of scare me a little bit. But here's what Mega Heracross promo looks like, and then here's what the Zygarde looks like, which seemingly is just going to be a full art, which is kind of cool. But maybe we get the non-full art version, kind of like Rayquaza potentially. But yeah, it's cool that we're getting 2 new promo EX cards. And yeah, guys, there we go. There's Pulsing Aura. It's coming out in just a few days here. Does it say when? It should say somewhere when this is releasing. April 28th, so in 5 days from now, which is kind of crazy. 2 booster packs. Oh no, comes in a single booster pack. I was wrong. A single booster pack double set again. Wow, okay. I was totally wrong. Probably got a lot of comments throughout this video saying that it was not a single double pack. I thought it was a double pack between Lucario and Sceptile, but I guess it is just a single booster pack, just like it was for Fantastical Parade, which I know not a lot of people loved. sadly. But you know, it is what it is, I guess. So a single booster pack, and Lucario is definitely going to be the front runner, and then I guess Sceptile's like the sidekick there. I don't know if we're getting other megas, probably will. I think for Fantastical Parade we got like 3 megas and like 6 normal EXs or something like that. Probably going to be very similar from a structure-wise perspective as Fantastical Parade. Fantastical Parade really was like the Psychic type set, and that was B2, I believe. So, yeah, it was, right? So it looks like B3 is just going to be like the fighting type Fantastical Parade. Yeah, very interesting. Very cool stuff. I'm excited. New sets releasing soon, and it's next week, so you're going to want to stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a ton of fun. Now, we have the entire week before the first PMPT tournament of the new season, so there's going to be a lot of tournaments throughout the week. I would recommend you guys play in, but we're also going to be covering everything on the channel starting from Monday, and we'll be live Monday night for the release as well, which is going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, that's the video. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for Pulsing Aura? What do you think of these new cards? Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys later. Peace out. Have a good one. And yeah. Bye.